live. Is everybody there? Hi.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, everybody. This is Heather and Reese. Welcome to the Cinema Esports Think Tank. I'm hoping, it looks like there's a lot of folks logged on. I wanted to welcome you and thank you for joining us. This is a 4-week free webinar series to help demystify esports. We decided to put this on and make it complimentary so there'd be no barrier of entry. And we want to explain why we're doing this and what the long-term goal is. First of all, I am the president of We Market for You, which is a tech consultancy for cinemas. I'm also with Women in Exhibition, which is a new foundation, and Cinema Esports. As I deal with a lot of you guys in the C-level suite, you have expressed to me, since I'm a tech consultant, hey, can you help me figure out this esports? Now, when I looked at the list of people attending, a lot of you I know, a lot of you I don't know. So for those of you I don't know, I've been listening and I've been hearing that there would be a great interest in understanding how to bring esports into the cinema as a new revenue stream and to bring new foot traffic. So we decided we'd ask a bunch of smart people in the industry if they join us. We have so many speakers, it is unbelievable. We could actually do this seminar again in another month, so we may. But then the next goal is to have a workshop that will be in November during the Esports Awards. And we're going to cap it at 10 cinemas. I already have 5 committed. It will be hosted by Studio Movie Grill, and it'll be really fun and really intimate. And then the big long-range goal, folks, is to have a subscription-based membership Cinema Esports Alliance. I'll be working with a company called Infinity. You may know, some of you may know them. They do websites and apps for the cinemas, and they also do subscription program. So I asked them if they would help us create a subscription-based program so gamers could have membership benefits. You cinemas will join. The more of I get to join, the more attractive I am to big brand sponsors, because we know we need their dollars to help this all work.
Turn your mic on.
Turn it on?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's see. Turn yours up. Okay, so the long-range goal is to create the Cinema Esports Alliance. So it's a work in progress, folks, so bear with me. And if you are interested and have any questions outside of this think tank, you can email me at cinemaesports@gmail.com. We'll take any constructive criticism, but be nice. I'm a little sensitive. So I want to thank you again for coming. Enjoy the next 4 weeks. If you miss any of the upcoming Tuesdays, don't worry. We do record this session and it'll be emailed to you on YouTube. You just can't chat. So the next thing is I'm going to introduce you to our moderator, Mr. Reese Barton, and he will then work with the speakers, and I will stay in the background. I might pipe in from time to time, but I'm going to disappear right now because we only get 3 cameras. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining, and off I go.
Turn off your mic. Hi, guys. My name is Reese Barton. I'm going to be the moderator for this session. I recently graduated from NYU, where I was a sports business major with a focus in esports. We, over the next 4 weeks, will be hearing from everyone in the industry, from every corner, from developers to tournament hosts, and we're really excited to have them all. So I'm just going to get right into it. Our first host that we're having is Kim, the COD Mom Meltzer. She has been working in the hospitality and video game industry for the last 20 years. There she is. Look at her. Hi, Kim.
Hi, guys.
She has been putting on tournaments and events with Twitch, DreamHack, Activision, and Blizzard. So say hi to Kim. Next we have Kima Perez. Kima is the CEO of Hammers Esports.
Hey, guys.
There he is. Hey, Kima. And make sure you guys hit your mics on too. So Kima is specializing in community building, strategy, tournament production, content creation, and Esports Team Management. And then lastly, we have Jonathan Woodhouse. Jonathan is here to help represent the theaters, keep the conversation on how this can all help them. He is from Cineworld. He's been putting on events for the last, I think, 10 plus years as well. So I'm going to go ahead and jump off the camera, but I'm still going to be on the mic moderating this.
Great.
Jonathan?
There he is.
So can I just hear all you guys real quick to see if the mics are working?
Sure. Mic check. Mic check.
Okay, there we go. I wasn't having it before. Okay, so let's just start this off. And one thing I think the theaters don't fully understand right now is what esports is. So does anyone want to jump onto this and just tackle this?
I think Kima and I will probably try to tear it apart for you. First of all, it's an honor for us to be here and for all of you in the the world of cinema, I have to get my hats off to you, because I literally did not appreciate and understand all of the work that goes into this. And literally just watching a movie the other day in a theater brought me back to why we're having this conversation. And having been in the video game industry for 9 years, I've had the privilege, honestly, to work with Kima, who's also here as a speaker, with the understanding of building out esports. It's truly just a competitive video gaming event. It allows everyone in the industry of video gaming to come into one event structure that allows everyone to participate in a community environment where they can watch professional pro players in whatever game they're doing at the time, in an event space that makes it an experience. And so there are multiple levels of this, which we can go into more detail later in the workshop. But one of the privileges that I've had, and that Kima can speak about, and I know Jonathan will also speak on his experiences, having it in a theater. Kima and I got to work together with Vainglory, which was one of the first mobile esports experiences on a multiplayer level. And we were doing it with Twitch, and had an opportunity to bring it to Los Angeles. And
Sorry to interrupt, just so viewers might not understand, Twitch is?
Twitch is basically like the Fox broadcasting for video gaming. It is a digital platform that you can watch all the games online, and you don't even have to watch it on your TV, which is pretty amazing. But they were the producers, and they wanted to build out events and build out the mobile gaming experience. And that's where I got to work with Kima when we had the privilege of looking at the Chinese theater in Los Angeles and Hollywood to do this event. And with that, that's where Kima and I got to work together and bring the first ever esports experience to a cinema.
And just to piggyback on both the adventures of Kim and Kima here, essentially at the time I was working at that game development studio. So with our entrance as being the first mobile esports title of our genre, which has then since expanded, even finding capable people such as Kim. I mean, Kim is amazing. She did 100% of all of our logistics. It's a gentle reminder that each of these venues, whether it be a theater, an open park, a warehouse, all have their needs. They're all unique. Nothing is cookie cutter. But with the privilege of having the experience of producing these events in a theater, it's always a pleasure to remind everybody in this industry that you guys literally have the perfect hotbed. It's a perfect hotbed of an experiential event, right? People already have the experience of where you are, what they could possibly find when they get there. And now it's just the opportunity to expand that experiential opportunity in esports, which I stand by is more of a culture. To piggyback on what Kim mentioned before, esports is a culture, much like a hobby that anybody else would like to experience. It's sometimes eclipses more than just watching your favorite gamer on stage. It's more about absorbing what the experience is all around you, and to be able to produce something in a theater, which we've done now multiple times. There are just so many advantages to that, and so I'm happy to be here, on behalf of Cinema Esports to talk about my experiences and what can ultimately lead to success between all of us, especially if the talks are about being an alliance.
So then, moving forward off that, how do you think that the gaming community plays a role in moving forward for the theaters?
That's kind of simple, because right now what we're noticing is that back in the last probably 7 or 8 years before we came into 2019, we noticed that the professional video gamer was working on getting bigger and better and stronger, and they were doing bigger venues. And like, I work on Rocket League, and we do 7,000 people in a venue. I mean, that's a really large event for that type of an experience. However, there are social engagements, there's the community involvement where you have kids that are very local to your cinema that really do want to have a location-based entertainment opportunity where they can come and interact and have that place to really shine in whatever it is, whether it's Fortnite, whether it's a tournament, whether it's a boot camp, whether it's many things, we can touch base on that. But the theater is a location-based entertainment opportunity that already provides the entertainment background that we're looking for. And that's what helps us as a planner or a publisher or developer or brand trying to bring out the next best experience. You want something that has some structure, although we know in esports and video gaming, that's something that just really hasn't been built yet. And that's something that I am dedicated to, is creating more of that creative structure, is what I call it, within an entertainment-based location that can handle us on multiple levels. And meeting Heather and working with you, Reese, that gave me an opportunity to understand how amazing it can be. And having had the privilege with Kima to bring something as big as Vainglory back in the day when we had international kids and created 1,000-seat entertainment piece, that was huge for us. That was really huge. And we created a whole experiential component to that was never done before. It made Chinese Man Theater look like it was the biggest venue in Hollywood, and they didn't even know they could capture that type of experience.
That was amazing.
So do you think that the gaming community that the theaters would be reaching out to have a sense of more quality over quantity, or how do you think is the best way to reach them?
I don't mind taking this one. So I think it's really about the experience that you want to put forward, right? Because in a theater, you've got the biggest, the instant thing that I think about in a theater is the box. Right, you go in there and it's a screen, and you can, and I think I mean, this is as cliche as it sounds, but you got to think outside of that box. You got to use the entire theater's space. You got to use different parts of that theater to create the experience that you really want to achieve. So like Kim was saying, boot camps are amazing, but do they have to really be in the theater? Maybe not the actual theater, but maybe a part of an experiential lobby space. And that has intrinsic value of having people walk by it and saying, what is this amazing Fortnite boot camp that all of a sudden is here? Can this become a program, an after school boot camp, something that where, my children can go to and hang out and have it be a social experience, right? And in the comfort of a familiar place, such as
a safe place.
Exactly, such as your favorite theater. So, I think reminding each other that you have such entertainment possibilities in the entire theater versus just saying, what do I do with that theater? Opens up the possibility of different types of programming.
Absolutely.
And that's definitely something that we want to talk about later on, but just to keep an open mind about what to do with your theater, whether it is a 2-box theater, a 15-box theater, again, I lean on having the experience and doing 3 different types of these. Make sure that you don't lock yourself into saying no. As long as people already come to your theater of all ages, there is always room for alternative content and always a time and a place and a way to create meaningful experiential esports events.
And Reese, I don't know if I can go on just really quick, just to share with the cinema attendees that are watching this. One of the things that's really, really imperative to put across, and I know Jonathan can really speak to this as a cinema representative, is these kids need a place to go. It used to be where they would go to an arcade place or they would do different things. They're very interested in the right quality of experience. They want interaction. They want to be with their best friends. This is where they can create that video game experience without it being overkill. There's many ways we can create a personalized experience in each and every cinema, whether it's a chain or it's independent, doesn't matter. There is an opportunity to really show forth what kind of assets need to be aligned with that type of experience. There has to be a structure that's built out with the brands so they can see that they also can come in. And one of the things that I got lucky to interact recently before I even knew about Cinema Esports is I have studios coming to me all the time saying, I need consumer product interaction with esports, and I don't know how to do it. So it automatically, we note now that the circle is starting to complete. So we can actually help build that out. And that's what we're most excited about in this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I think from a cinema perspective, I think it's, you don't have to overcomplicate it in terms of the thought process. The cinema is a place of escapism. It's a place of fantasy. It's a place of where dreams come true. And really, it's about what was said earlier about creating experiences. And I really love the point about those experiences aren't limited to the actual cinema or theatre, as you would say over there. Itself, it comes from the moment that you walk in through the door. I know kind of here in the UK, a lot of our events are called experiential now, and there's a demand for more immersive events where, so you have actors, you have set design, you're building worlds, and really you can do that irrespective of what size you are. It's about your imagination, and I think gaming and esports, that's world of like endless creativity, and you sort of take yourself out of that comfort zone and see yourself as someone that just wants to experience something new and cool, just like walking onto a film.
Jonathan, do you mind if I piggyback off this for a sec?
Yeah.
I was speaking to you recently, and you were telling me about Cineworld's blanket philosophy and how that is something that you guys always go back to when moving forward on this. Is there any one that you want to speak of?
Yeah, I think really like we're about creating the best place to watch a movie. In the US, with where we're known as Regal, so many of our cinemas are undergoing refurbishment. And what you'll notice in some of the newer cinemas over in the US is that our foyer, like foyers where people are queuing up their popcorn and tickets, they're now kind of positive. I like to call a positive assault on the sector. Their experiences as soon as they come in. We have a lot of emphasis on digital and branding. What that allows people coming in to do, so corporates or gaming companies and whatnot, it allows them to actually create. And I think that's the overall message is I think that I want to kind of put across is from what I've learned in about a year of actually kind of working people like Fernando, working on upcoming gaming events, is that you really need to position yourself as almost being part of their team and actually saying, look, hey, you've got a product, we have a and how can we use this to really amplify that? Because your brand will get out there. You have a screen, if you have a big screen, if you've got service, great. Your reputation will already be there. Focus on creating the experience and the event, and the rest of it will come. But really, like work with them. I think, from my experience of working with corporates and working across venues, there are so many different venues that are stuck in their routines and stuck in their ways, and that is normally for good reasons because it works. But with gaming and esports growing industry, there are games that are coming out now that are doing things that we've achieved only like 3 or 4 years ago, and that's not going to stop. You have to kind of be open to that change, and it's easy for me to be open to that change. I'm a gamer myself. The problem can come and the challenges can come where you're trying to communicate these ideas and pull things to people that don't necessarily understand gaming. And
your mic is kind of cutting out right now.
Okay.
There we go.
Is that better?
Yeah,
it's better.
Yeah.
So I just think creating good experiences and just again that philosophy of as soon as someone walks in through something.
So, in your guys' experience, since all three of you have put on events in cinemas, what are the parts of cinemas that make it like really easy and like overly worthwhile? And what were some of the challenges that you faced and overcome putting on the events?
I guess I'll start, and I'm sure Kima will jump in anytime. What we note is that cinemas have concession stands. They have a structure where they have either a lobby or an arcade area that's been built out, or they have an interaction that goes on where they understand how to interact with brands, whether that's posters or giving away things or having multiple amounts of people coming in and coming through their doors. So they're used to a lot of crowd and experience. And so with that, what they do really well is we get to have fun with what they already have structured. We can wrap popcorn, containers, and we can do all these fun things that they're already doing. We're not going to do anything new in that way. We're just going to bring it out into more of an experiential component when it comes to video games, because video games is behind a screen, but people are 3-dimensional. They want 4 and 5 dimension. They want to be able to interact in a way that they're wearing the clothes, they're experiencing things that make it rare and unique to each and every cinema that they go to in their location. So, for instance, building out Destination Esports, as we launch this, we want to make every destination special and very unique, so that these kids can say, hey, today I'm in Hollywood, tomorrow I'm in Denmark, next day I'm in UK, next day I'm in Chicago. And these kids love to travel. I mean, I've never seen so many children traveling the world at the level that they do. I had to wait till I was much older before I got on my first plane ride overseas. Now it's a common experience to be able to fly to actually London and, doing things that they do now. So the experience we create in each and every venue or location-based entertainment, and now speaking about cinemas, is got to be unique to that place and that involvement. So we will create it and personalize it to that. On the same token, where Kima will probably jump in, is there are areas of venues that we work with now in the technology side that are just not capable to handle the level of entertainment that we bring into the space. And with that, I'll leave that to you two to continue.
Sure. Yes, completely piggybacking off of what Kim said. So because she said everything positive about the experiences of these kids, now taking the esports culture as an exciting world tour. You guys have the network, especially if we build it out together, but you guys have this soft landing spot for these events. Just keep that in mind. Some of you with multiple locations can say, okay, look, I can do something in Atlanta, and California and Florida, as part of a world tour program. So again, sort of signifying that these programs can exist. But on some of the pitfalls, I guess the challenges here, not pitfalls is the wrong word, but the challenges would be to remember that as we're theming these places out, remember that as we're given the opportunities to theme your theaters out to these events, treat them like they are first-class events for that theater. Give people separate Wi-Fi access. Give people continuous bandwidth for the rooms that we're wanting to create these experiential events. Right. The worst part about having to try to play a game synchronously, and by synchronously I mean like literally in real time, would be to experience lag or some sort of internet connection drop off. That is the gamer's number one, 0 to 100 anger meter.
Literally.
Okay,
Literally.
and I think it's just more so for the gamer side. But like once your connection just drops off, or the signal quality, isn't there for that split second, it could mean the difference of winning and losing. And so. Just to piggyback off of that, like I think the biggest heartbreak that I've ever experienced is when you're right there at the prize pool and internet cuts off and then nobody knows what to do. So as long as you know that internet is a huge deal and you're treating this event that we're putting a lot of time and energy into theming up and people are enjoying and having the greatest time, people on their phones connecting to quote unquote public Wi-Fi to play a competitive event is not a good thing to do. Absolutely not a good thing to do. So prepare for that at least to make sure that your, the infrastructure and internet, and it doesn't even have to be the greatest internet. And we've rented it before for some of these events, but just to make sure that that's definitely a number one concern where that has definitely been 3 out of 3 times the biggest challenge of putting events on in any venue.
On a small scale.
In this case, definitely.
I think I want to piggyback off of that, because we did, when we had an event with Nintendo, we actually did have a couple of challenges because it was Super Smash Brothers. It's a fighting game, and obviously there needs to be a lot of precision with that. And we first basically, we were using wired solutions, and then we found wireless controllers. And we found in certain auditoriums there was slight lag, which for a general player wouldn't be noticeable. For a pro would be 100% noticeable. And the thing is, because our event was specifically a promotional tournament, we could, Nintendo did not want to run the risk of anyone complaining about lag. So we granted them multiple site visits and rehearsals and testing. We gave them whatever they needed to make sure that when we got to the event day, there were no surprises. And that is definitely, with these events, like, give them the rehearsal time, like, you know, and don't be greedy about it. Don't charge them for it, because honestly, if you don't give them that time, it's going to be on you on the day that the event's going to go wrong, because you're, at the end of the day, you have to take responsibility as a venue to make it run smooth, even though you may be working with a publisher, developer, agency, or whoever to make sure that the event goes well. You still have a responsibility to organize all of the elements outside of that. So that's something that I would, like, you can never be too careful. That's my main thing. And give the event what it deserves, because it will bring attention to your cinema.
So, and let me, I was going to say, sorry, Reese. I'm going to shut up now. I'm sorry.
No, I was saying, go ahead, please say it.
No, I know there's questions. Let me just share this too. One of the goals that we want to share, not only speakers, but as advocates for the cinema esports experience, is that in bringing esports to the cinemas, we want to support the Alliance in a way that we will not only come in and help pull together your personalization of each and every area, so we can look at it from a smaller event structure where you have maybe 10 people up to 25, and it may be as big as 1,000 people like Kima and I did at the Chinese theater. It really depends on the size of your theater or what property space that you have. That is what we can, you know, lease out to monetize. This is as simple as, again, want to classify it as a world size tournament that has, you know, 500 to 1,000 people versus a 10 to 25 small social event that can be an everyday event in your cinema. So how do you get those? That's something that we want to bring to the table. Having been in 9 years, I already know 90% of the tournament organizers. This is not a structured thing. The one thing you're going to find about esports is it's very fragmented. And that's the problem that I faced in the 9 years that I've been the buyer for esports spaces, hotels, et cetera, having worked in the travel and hospitality side of it and building it out from the support of production. So really what we want to say to you is, we will help you answer those questions. We want to be able to be the thinking tank for you on a personalized level and helping cinema esports to build it out so that you have all these resources. So we want to just show that and share that up front, that what we're talking about is definitely doable, but it's not something you can just go out and try to find. And you might get a one-off here and a one-off there, and there's no intention of us to be able to try to control that. It's more of just being able to help support the overall idea that we want to structure the unstructured and get this fragmentation off of the plate. And you guys can be a real shining star for us to do that with the Alliance set up through Cinema Esports. So I hope that helps in some of the questions that were asked.
I really love also to just to touch base on some of the things that chat here. I'm gonna call you guys chat because that's what I'm used to. But I'm seeing the chat and the great questions here. Luis, excellent job on the connection with the publishers. I mean, getting that connection with Epic is amazing. And
that's huge.
I also do want to ask though, like, while you're doing this and you're saying you have the potential to open another movie, I want to make sure that you're not missing the opportunity to actually create a marketing opportunity. Or did you ask for merchandise, or did you open that up so that you didn't lose the opportunities of expanding that outside of the theater? Did you provide yourself a way to to get yourself merch, to get yourself any sort of extra income for the attendees, right? And that also actually pivots back onto I think Marco asked this question, like 5 to 6 hours event, how do you monetize this versus a movie? Well, sometimes it's all about the program getting there. Sometimes the biggest moneymaker isn't the actual event that we're producing, this grandiose stage. It's a $2 million cost event somewhere in a stadium. Sometimes the buildup nets you more income because you're theming a program of sorts, or like a season of sorts, and that you're building that hype in your attendees to continuously attend, continuously come back in a program, and that's where you're monetizing the most. Because it's John mentioned this again earlier. The point is not to be greedy. The point is not to be greedy. There are not many theaters in the world out there that can hold 1,000 people.
Right.
But you can be part of the network and the program to continuously build up those people so that they eventually, quote unquote, graduate to those stadiums. But if you were there along for the ride, let's say you were there, you were 6 out of the 7 times before that 7th time culmination event. All of those people attended your theater. That's where you mix that special sauce. That's where you go for all the marketing opportunities that you can, partnering with these publishers like Luis did, and giving your attendees a more themed a themed structure to experience these events, to monetize these events. And the funny thing is, like, I know that there's I'm looking at this notepad where I'm talking about this Kima's 6 pillars thing that they want me to go over, and I think it's a perfect segue into it. And it's like the key things that you have to ask yourself when you're looking at your list of locations, right? So one of them is location. Are you positioned well in metropolitan areas? And if you're not, then find the 1 or 2, right? Not your entire theater network doesn't have to be the esports destination, right? Pick 1 or 2 of your greatest ones, and then on the 1 or 2, can you work, or is there existing infrastructure in that theater? What is your tech like? What is your IT like in that theater? 3, know the demographics that are around you. Have a social media manager, or your neighbor's best friend who's a kid who plays around you, and ask him, like, what do people like playing around me? What other places put on events around me? Do your research, right? And see, is it better off to do an event with dozens of Nintendo Switches, or go in hard and get 50 computers or something, utilize your full lobby and do like a Rainbow Six event? So it's what is your demographic? What do they play around you? On top of that, also make sure that you're well equipped with like your social media and your outreach. That's pivotal. I can't go far out to explain why today's internet meme culture means a lot. If you understand what I mean by that, that is sort of the undiscovered area of appealing to the teenager and quote unquote gamer's interest, is if you can kind of meme your way into the zone, and by acceptance is like, okay, they're just as cool as I am. You know what? I'm going to continue talking to these theaters. On top of that, also just make sure that you are well within your communications with the certain game publishers and titles that you're okay with presenting these events. And of course, the biggest question here is, and I think somebody asked this as well. I think, was it Seth? Yeah, it was Seth who asked, how many people does it take to make an event? Well, it's really just the size and where. If you're hiring staff, or if you're looking for help in these theaters that are more aware of the new alternative content, such as gaming, that you're going to be presenting or producing in your theater, then the chances of success, just because that person is familiar with it or understands the game or the title, that's already a foot in the door. So whether it's in the lobby and you only need like 1 or 2 admins, or whether it's the entire theater and you have to multiply that, it's every case is unique. As we assess this in terms of the alliance, and you're asking us like, hey, will my theater work? It's kind of our job to put our heads together and go, it will or it won't. And I think it's also our job to be very honest with you. Let's go with that. And I know Jonathan wants to speak too. I think the main thing is that we do have all the contacts to the various publishers, developers, the who's who in this industry. That's easy for us. That's not something that we would share off the cuff. We'd really want to understand what you're trying to do, so we can bring in the right people and support the right contacts for you. So that's where the alliance will be a strong bond for you, because you'll have that as part of the experience. But it's something that we want to train you to do it right. You have to understand that esports is now this multi-billion-dollar craziness. We call it the wild child. And the problem with that is that just because you want to call Blizzard doesn't mean that Blizzard's going to do something, or Epic is going to run to you every time you want to do Fortnite. We want to bring in the right structures with software. We want to bring in the right opportunities. We want to make it a Switzerland experience so that you guys get what you need, and it's not a political
insanity that it can become. We want to be able to help you build out what makes your destination really cool. So like Kima said, we'll be very honest. And that's one thing as a planner, I have to be honest, because I've got fire marshals, I've got all these things that are part of the deal, and you're going to lose money if we're not doing our job right. So we want to make you money. That's not even a question. And Jonathan, I know you want to speak, so I apologize because we've kind of not let you. Okay. But that being said, everything that we're talking about will be more specific beyond the think tank. So these questions are really awesome because what we want to do is support the infrastructure for cinemas to be able to come into the esports market and understand it from a higher level and then ultimately a practical level. So even if you've had a great event at your experience at the cinema, we're talking about short-term and long-term goals that you're going to have to meet in order to stay relevant in this industry. This is not an industry that comes and goes. It's an industry that's going to change every day. There are either online tournaments or in-game tournaments, events on site every day, 365 days of the year. That doesn't mean that you might have all of those, but depending on what you're looking to do and how big your space is, we can help justify whether it's a press junket, whether it's an actual tournament, if it's a college and high school experience on a weekly basis, if you've got brands that want to activate in your space. Jonathan, I'm going to use you because I noticed you were in the O2 area. And I love O2 because he has a cinema literally inside of the space of the O2 arena. And we've actually done events there. And I have to tell you that he's very fortunate because his destination alone is mind-blowing just for what he has just in his space. So he can talk about how cool his destination is just by where he's at, but you can talk about multiple cinemas and multiple space. Everything you have to know in esports is it's corporate America, it's entertainment, it's a leisure market that gives you a lot of interaction with a general public, and it's also technology. So this is not a one turnkey shop experience. This is a very multi-layered experience that you can make a lot of money on, but you got to be smart in how you do it, and you can't be greedy, as they said. It's long term. It's not a quick fix.
Right. Patience is definitely required.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. I think so from my perspective, a lot of the stuff that I'm talking to game developers and publishers and agencies about isn't going to happen this year. It's going to happen next year, and you have to keep engaged with these, with these people, because they still need to know that you're interested in their product or their event. And sometimes you could not hear anything back from them, but you just need to kind of keep on engaging. It is still, I guess, from a sales perspective, it is still sales, but you still need to keep on top of your leads, right?
Sure.
I wanted to actually talk and kind of from that, I wanted to address Corey Sawyer. He had a good question about appearing at conventions like PAX, and then also using those events to do qualifiers and semi-finals, etc.
100%.
So I've got an interesting story about that. I was at the FIFA eWorld Cup on Sunday, and it was actually at the O2 arena. I was invited as a guest. I looked at that setup and I was like, wow, that's incredible. We could never have a final even in our largest cinema. There's pyrotechnics, there's so much stage set up. It was really kind of grandiose, and it was as I expected a FIFA final to be. But all that got me thinking was, okay, sure, but when and we do have a kind of a way in to speak to EA at the moment, but when we do speak to EA, we can talk about qualifiers, the smaller scale stuff, or even streaming these events across cinemas. Utilize kind of what you have. It's better to kind of understand what you can provide as opposed to trying to, make a square peg fit into a round hole, so to speak.
100%.
And I think one of the things that has helped me as well in terms of having these conversations is by literally appearing at these conventions. So you guys have got E3 over there. There's so much, actually. You've got so much over here. Here we have EGX. We have a bunch of kind of UK events, and whether you're going as a guest or you're exhibiting. So I think something very simple that every cinema can do is exhibit at a gaming convention, because most digital projectors these days, you just need to plug in your HDMI and you can play on screen. Every cinema will have its way of facilitating gaming in screen. So that's quite a very easy way to kind of make contacts, because even though obviously you want the big events, you still need to show, even at the smallest level, that you can game on screen, right? You can game in an auditorium. So I think it's important to like have a presence at these events, and eventually you'll start making connections. Eventually you'll start having conversations. You don't have those conversations unless you're seen. And it's no good going to one at the beginning of the year and then the next one you go to is in November. You kind of need to be looking out, for what's actually good to appear at, and just be a presence. Because eventually people will get to know you, and then they'll be like, right, they'll stick in their head. And when they have an event or when they have something in mind, they'll come to you. So that's kind of what's happened to me. I mean, I have appeared at I've been a guest at a few, and I've also just bought myself some tickets, expensed, to go to these events. But I've made contacts. I get to meet developers, which I think is really important, because even though, they're the people that are creating these games, it's not necessarily, they might not necessarily have the power to like book your cinema, but at the same time, these people might be like, hey, look, this cinema chain or this cinema is actually really interested in what we're doing. Maybe we should check them out and see what they can do to facilitate an event. And I just think it's an excellent idea to appear at conventions, to go to them as guests, exhibit in some formal fashion. Even if all you're saying is that we can do gaming in cinema, that's enough to begin conversations that if you weren't there, you wouldn't otherwise have.
And I'll throw one in there too, Jonathan. We're really lucky and fortunate that I'm partnered with the Esports Awards at the end of November, or in the beginning of November, which Heather has put together this workshop. And what I'm doing is bringing the cinemas, those that are interested to come and be a part of the experience, they'll meet the who's who in the esports industry. So we're actually going to do one better to create a quick interaction and literally learn everyone who's in the industry, and you'll get to network with some of the best in the industry. And that's usually the top tier group. So that's just something to think about as an opportunity, just to get a taste of it, to understand the culture, to talk to people, get their thoughts. The workshop itself will identify all of those points, as well as being able to be at the award show. So just something to think about, because hopefully, God willing, we'll kind of cut a lot of the extra costs out and help build it out, so you guys have much more resource too. That's something I just hope that we can put forward, because there's just so many people, and there's a lot of crazy people in this industry, and they will take advantage of you. And that's what I'm most concerned about as the mom of esports. I know them all, unfortunately, and I just want to make sure that you guys really have all of those resources. Nothing will be held back. It's just educational, so that you understand what you're dealing with, so you can spend those dollars wisely too.
I just want to make sure that Kim is saying that we're not those crazy people.
No, we are not.
Clearly, because we're in the same room.
I promise.
But also too, if Cinema Esports is your first, if it's your first event, I think it's great, because imagine us being kind of your tour guides there, right? If you needed to ask a question about anything over there, I think it's well within our breadth of knowledge to point out something interesting to you, to tell you why that's happening, who this person is, why that person's worth connecting with. And so even just as a networking event, if it's your first time seeing why people celebrate this thing literally at an award ceremony, if it doesn't open up the possibilities of why this form of entertainment is kind of the growing wild child, then coming to this thing is going to be an eye-opening experience, and we'd love to break that down for you, especially as we're developing plans to do like an intensive workshop, making sure that that you as attendees to us, are valued as our VIP guests.
Hey everyone, I think this question from Carl is really important, and this is really for anyone who wants to answer. He said, what Corey is saying is perfect, and that's the idea, but how do you reach out to the community? We have worked with Coke for a week of Legend Worlds, and they didn't have the reach to this community to fill up our sites. So how do you think they should go about that?
I can say something on this. So the event that we did with Nintendo just a couple of months ago, we worked with social media influencers, and basically in order for me to basically be able to do this event with Nintendo, and it was a partnership event, I want, so obviously they were promoting Smash Brothers. We wanted to promote gaming and cinema, and off the back of that, catch the attention of other gaming developers and publishers, so they can see what we can do. But we basically offered out influencers, and influencers are a huge part of what Cineworld's marketing, at least in the UK, is. We market our cinema businesses through key influencers that we work with, and we have a long list. And basically what we offered Nintendo is the ability to be able to bring these influencers in and have them, actually, what did they do? They created videos in the lead up to the tournament. They had certain tweets that they did. It was quite interesting, actually, because like Nintendo had a bit of a long list of stuff that they wanted the influencers to do, but we didn't pay the influencers for this event. They were just happy to be there, but there's a limit as to what you can ask them to do. And we had to kind of curb Nintendo's enthusiasm a little bit. And that's not easy to, like, they're wonderful to work with, but I want to make everything possible for Nintendo. They're my childhood, but I still had to say, look, we can't ask them to do too much of this, otherwise they're going to cost a lot of money. And something to bear in mind with influencers here in the UK, and I'm sure there will be similar statistics for the US, but an influencer has 5 times more visibility than any paid marketing. At least that's what it is for us, and that's why we use them for key things, because they're spread to an audience that has already been targeted, right? Because they have followers. So that's a really good way, if you're able to do that and actually work with influencers and actually give that to a brand to show them, that we will make your game more visible. Great. I think that's one way to do it. It certainly has worked for us. We're lucky because we are a chain and we're quite big. So we have a lot of contact with influencers. Smaller cinema chains might struggle a little bit, but I do think social is still a big part of it, showing that you're actually visibly promoting what they're doing.
Absolutely. And I think this one reaches out to Carl. Obviously he was asking it, and I work directly with Coke too. And don't get me wrong, it's a great NC. And when they do the viewing parties, when they do the LOL viewing parties, we did one for Vainglory. It doesn't excuse you to also get in the trenches, right? It's not something that goes, oh, Coke's got me. Okay, let me, here, I'll just open the doors and have people come in. No, it's not something that you ever, can place on autopilot. The engagement, the social engagement, the physical engagement, the reminder that such an event like LOL Worlds, I mean, that's huge. And a lot of people have very successful viewing parties for that. But supporting that on and offline, the constant reminder that it's coming up in 2 weeks, that definitely requires some work. It's not something that you can always rely on Coke, because Coke knows it has that flexing power. Coke will make sure that there's a box for these people, but those people are not going to, 99% of the world, on social media, will not look up to Coke and say, okay, great, that's, they're doing something there, because Coke's going to tweet about 99 other things in the same day.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. It's gone in the moment it's up. So they're not going to constantly remind the people around your area about your theater. The diehard passionate fans in your area are going to look at Coke's website and say, okay, I'm going to put a reminder to myself, but that's maybe 1/10 of the people that you want to fill up that theater with. The rest of the time, the onus is definitely on you to find the engagement that you're lacking. And it's not that you're lacking it. It's not that you're lacking it. It's just that reminder that you have to do some of that work yourself. You need to have staff or personnel, constantly looking at ways to fill the theater up and above and beyond what Coke will give you. And I've literally worked with them directly in the past, and I know exactly what they do and do not give you in support of a viewing party event. So.
And by the way, we'll throw in there just something to think about, and we'll get more specific in the workshop, is we created with Heather a really cool idea, and Reese has been very supportive in helping us to put this together. But we want to talk about high schools and college and the career path and being able to support their local communities. With that, you have your own influencers in your own backyard. And there's a lot of really unique ways now that we're being able to put together an amateur to a pro path in how we do these engagements. And we do these really cool events, from a very small event to a very large event. So there is a structure. That's something that we want to bring to the table. Those of us that are part of this with Heather and Reese are going to give you all of our resources, and we're going to be that advisor to you. We'll figure out how we can help you. This is not just an open-ended, okay, here's the horse, go run it. There's a structure in place that you have to really get engaged and educated on, and we plan to help you build out that whole entire experience. So it's very unique to cinemas only. That's going to make you guys very much a location-based entertainment facility that has been so looked upon. People are spending thousands and thousands of dollars to create an arena. Comcast just spent $50 million in Philadelphia, which makes me laugh because it's not that they're not doing the right thing. It's just they have to fill it up 365 days of the year. And video gaming is not that in one space. So we want to make your locations work because you're already built out. Let's use what you have and your assets, and then figure out your liabilities, and let's help you fix those as best as possible, as low cost as possible, with the best solutions that are long-term. So you may have to, every year, just like a hotel, you might have to remodel certain things, and you might get excited about something you did and you realize you've got to build it out even more. Those are the processes. This is not instant gratification. This is an opportunity to grow it from simple to advanced. And that's what we're here for. And that's why Heather and Reese are dedicated to become Cinema Esports. Again, plugging them, not because I'm getting anything out of it. It's because this is why we're here. We want so badly to make cinema succeed.
Yeah.
So
I just think maybe we could finish this off with a little bit of looking into the future. Like, what are some positivities that theaters should really think about, and why is this tangible for them?
Well, I think what Heather taught me really, which was cool, is the studios really influence the cinema. And I never thought about it as someone who's just a consumer. I just go and watch a movie and I buy my popcorn and I leave, and that's it. I don't think about what goes beyond that approach as somebody who's a consumer. What I think is cool is that you're giving them a venue that they can come to, or a location they can come to, more community-based locally, and then building it out into more exciting pieces that can add to the overall experience and revenue that you're looking for. Video games are not going anywhere. It doesn't matter what the news says to you. I have Gamers Outreach that provides video game carts to kids who are sick in the hospital that are healing from cancer, because they have an avenue or a tool to help them to see something positive in a negative situation. Not everybody that plays Call of Duty is shooting people. I've been the COD Mom for 9 years, and I've never seen anyone in my community who has done anything but support the people around them. It's all misguided, uneducated conversation. And until we prove that, you guys are really a shining light for us to be able to use the future for that. Everything we do will be built on logistics, security, opportunity, engagement, brand activation, influencers. You can name the conversation. We'll help you build it out. We've been doing this a long time, and you guys know your field as well as we know ours. So coming together, communication being the #1 tool in a fragmented community, is we will communicate more often than not. You'll get sick of us, which I hope is a good thing, but we won't talk your ear off. We'll listen as well.
Yeah, Kim's got it exactly right. I mean, the theater space is it is like the perfect venue to have the right amount of seats for the growing community. Right? There's never, just don't feel that you need to have the culmination event. Like, you don't need to have that. You just need to be the continuous space that people now recognize as another form of experiential event for the gaming community. And if you can live with the bounds and limitations of what you already have, and just build on top of the layer of entertainment that we already commonly know of, that we experience in a theater, then you have a winning formula here. You have the seats, you have the safe space, you have the environment, and you will have more knowledgeable staff. And to remind you guys that we're all in the same entertainment industry, right? We're the movie industry and the gaming industry, same animal. We're here to give people experiences that may not otherwise occur. And so why not have all of that in the same place? It makes a lot of sense to me. It's proven its successes to me as well, to this whole group as well. And so why not come together and see what the rest of the formula can kick out.
And by the way, let's get the studios excited to start helping the publishers build out more
Absolutely.
movies like Blizzard did, and now you have a place to engage it. I mean, you've got the best of both worlds. We've never touched into that, and they came and went and did an amazing movie, but it just didn't go anywhere after the fact because they had nowhere to really position it. So we have a lot of growth coming up. We've got a lot of fun things we can do.
Do you know what? Like, these guys have said everything already, but I think from just my experience, I'll touch upon, like, it's not always easy to communicate to other people that aren't gamers or that don't really know the industry. And like, I work for a big corporate. Not everyone that I work for who is higher up than me understands the gaming market. It is our duty and our responsibility to educate these people to actually make them excited. If they're not excited about the games, then make them excited about the commercial. Make them excited
100%.
about the sales. Give them facts, give them statistics. When I talk to them, in my interview for my job at Cineworld, I was talking about how in the UK market, esports is up 1.5 billion year on year. No other candidate would have talked about that. I had the confidence to talk about it because I showed passion. I think it's always useful as well for cinemas in particular. If you have people that are gamers, get them to support your ideas as well. I found out our head of film, who speaks to all the studios and programs all of our cinemas, is a huge Final Fantasy fan.
100%.
Right? Talk to people. You will find out so much more about them if you actually give them the time of day, and then it will be so much easier when, okay, I want to put on a big launch event for a game and it's going to have to take out our IMAX cinema. That conversation is going to be easier to have. And I think there was an event that I went to. There's a video game channel called RKG. Some people might know it. It used to be hosted by a couple of guys on IGN, but they're now independent. I went to an event for Cuphead the other night. Oh, it was amazing and really difficult. I actually managed to get on stage and fail spectacularly. But if there was one thing that was really, really special about that event and I think I'll be working with them on creating some events at Cineworld, actually, that's why I was there. But if there's one thing that I really, really captured is I enjoyed that event so much. That crowd was so into it. Everyone was supportive of each other. You know, there's a lot of negativity out there right now, and people need spaces to feel positive, spaces 100%. Where they can see communities come together, people from different backgrounds, different walks of life. Gaming is just that medium that can do that, perhaps more than any other. I think we've only scratched the surface of what gaming can do for communities and people. If you have that passion come across, you'll get support internally, you'll get support from the people that you're trying to create these events with, and hopefully we'll all have a good time.
Yeah, stick with Heather.
Great, man.
I'm telling you, they know what they're doing.
Absolutely.
I love it.
For sure. Jonathan, you rock.
I'd subscribe to you for $1.99 on Twitch to start streaming.
Thanks so much, Jonathan. Trying to get the mic here.
Oh, thank you for anybody that's joining it that has to hop off, by the way. So
yeah,
you guys,
I know. There's still
great questions. Absolutely.
These are amazing, great questions. Heather's got some work to do with Reese, I'm telling you. We just started trouble.
Oh, sorry, truck driving by.
Do I need to drop out? Does someone need to drop out? Reese, do you need me to drop out?
Do you have any outro comments or?
Yeah.
I mean, we definitely went through ours, so I mean, if you guys need to.
Right.
Dump truck on the street.
Oh, no.
I love it. That's all right. I think Kima can. I think keep reading the comments, Kima. You're doing good. I think you could be like Johnny Carson or Jimmy Fallon at this point. Keep doing it. Yeah,
so good.
This is good.
The chat is on fire. The chat
I like
is on
it.
fire.
All right, well, thank you to everyone. Thank you, Jonathan, Kima, Kim. You guys really rocked this whole think tank session. And thank you for everyone listening, all 28 of you that are still here. We're so excited to move forward with this. We're really going to break down all issues. Next week, we're going to have CLX, who make some of the best pre-built PCs in the market. And we also have 3 different tournament organizers from different levels, from just your small garage tournaments to thousands of people online playing for a prize. So we're going to get this, and thank you all for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week.
All right. Take care.
Take care. Bye.